Hey guys, welcome back to the very second episode. No, it's the very second. Welcome back to the second episode of the Amp Surfer. Thanks guys for dropping in. Really appreciate it. Episode 1 was mad, wasn't it? It was a roller coaster of events from just a normal bloke going out for a motorbike ride to being wrapped up in a hospital and just a complete mess, and then getting to where I am now. So if you haven't seen that, check it out, episode 1. It'll kind of explain where we are today. I've also dropped in my testimony, which is a story about how I came to faith, and it kind of explains what was happening when I was on the side of the road and felt like I was dying. And I got pulled out of my body, and it was black and dark, and I had a conversation with our Creator, man. I had a conversation with God. Like, when you have a conversation with God, you kind of know, you definitely know there's something inbuilt in us that just absolutely knows His voice. And so that explains that, and that's kind of an incredible part of where I am now. But today I wanted to talk to you, to myself, about the things that encourage me, my motivations for where I'm going and where I'm at. And that was my plan for today. And it just seems that my plans definitely aren't the plans of God's plans for me, because I rung up the surgeon's secretary yesterday when I was at the gym. I was doing leg day, and I just wanted to check in to see that the operation was going ahead, and it was all still planned for the 21st of October. And she goes, "Yeah, nah, it's cancelled." I'm like, "What? What do you mean cancelled? Is it not happening?" She goes, "Oh yeah, no, it's happening. Just not on the 21st of October. And I'm like, "Okay, so when's it happen?" She goes, "Don't know." So I was sitting there at the gym, literally sitting there, going, far out. When's it going to be? And she's like, "Oh, I don't actually know, but we think it might be in end of November sometime, beginning of December." Okay, that means it's going to be a less than average Christmas again. So last Christmas, I had a second stomach operation to fix the mess that was still going on inside me. I was operated on in Barnstable on the 20th of December, with the hope that if I recovered well enough, I would get out of hospital in time for Christmas. I did. I managed that. So, but the operation was like cut me from here to here for the second time, peel me open, fix a hernia the size of my fist. I thought I only had one hernia. Turns out I had two. So they repaired those, put some gauze stuff mesh over the top, kept my belly in, and then glued me back together again. And I got out of hospital on the 23rd of December, in time for Christmas. I was pretty useless at Christmas time. I could, getting up and moving about, or just going to the toilet was a big drama for me. It was painful. It was hard work. So Christmas, I was kind of useless. Had my family around me, which is just incredible. But so the idea of having another operation right before Christmas is just another Christmas that we have to get through that's less than average. That'll be okay. There is a positive. There's always a positive, and that's kind of what I'm going to come to now. Initially that news was kind of knocked you on your backside. It's like the wind getting knocked out of your sail, because you've planned. We've planned for the 21st. We've started to think about the things that need changing around in my cottage, and my partner Helen's house, and what that looks like, and the things that just need addressing, and my daughter Willow, she's mentally prepared, and Helen's prepared, and her daughter's prepared, and we're kind of all prepared, and then now it's just going to take a bit longer, so we have to kind of re-prepare. But in that is more time to plan. There's more time to recover from my hip operation, which was 3 months ago. There's more time to consider maybe getting on this board that Spider made for me, you know what I mean? So I might actually get to ride this thing before the operation, which is exactly what I'm hoping for. I may not be able to ride it. I just may not be physical enough to do that right now, but I will try. I'll paddle out, and maybe I won't be able to stand up. I don't know. It's been absolute months since I last surfed, and even then I wasn't really what you would call proper surfing. I was still trying to work things out with my gammy foot and all the rest of it. But I was, mentally that's really hard, like going from being a decent surfer for my age to just really struggling and having to start all over again. But we will persevere, and things are in place. So initially I wanted to come to episode 2 and talk about my motivation and what that looks like and the things that I've put in place, and then had the news that the operation's cancelled. But actually it just brings me straight back around to what my motivations are, and I'm pretty excited to talk about it with you guys actually, or whoever's listening, or maybe it's just a video diary, I don't really know. So some of the motivations, or the big motivation for me, is the fact that I am going to work really hard to get back to surfing, and to actually get to a point that I might be competitive as an adaptive surfer. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but I'm not going to be doing it alone, and that is gold, So this setback of time just allows me to get stronger. I've got a personal trainer called Andrew. He's in Truro, and he's written me this awesome plan where I can strengthen my left leg, which is my front foot for surfing, get that to the same strength that my right leg is currently at. There's a 27% difference in strength in both legs. So my right leg, because that's been carrying me extra because my left one's not worked properly, it's stronger than my left leg by 27%. So we're trying to bridge that gap and get them closer and closer. So I'm doing a lot of work. It seems like every day is a leg day at the gym, which is the very thing people miss out for the most part. But so I'm just being real kind of full on about it and getting into it. And so that's going to have an effect on how well I can recover and how quickly I can get back to surfing, which is just epic, really. So about 2 months ago, I reached out to Surf England and inquired about their para surf team. What was the pathway and what were the requirements? Did I have to do anything to get myself to qualify to surf in a GB comp? And I got in touch with this dude called Jack, and he's the pathway lead for Surf England for the para team. And he got in touch with me and he said, Craig, I'd love to come and meet you. And it just so happened that I was working at the Surfscape Festival in Newquay a few weeks ago, and Jack emailed and said, hey, look, mate, I'm going to come down and visit you there, and we'll hook up and have a bit of a yarn about what's going on. And so we did. I was working at the Christian Surfers tent and just flying the flag there, and Jack came over, and it's like two guys that had been mates for years but had never met each other, and it was just cool. We had this conversation about where I'm at now, where I'm heading, what my plan is, what I've got in place to kind of make those things happen. And he was super positive, saying, look, Craig, as soon as you're ready, as soon as you've got your leg whopped off and you got your foot ready for surfing and you're ready to get in the water, let us know. And so he said that they would help me get back to surfing. They would help with some coaching. They would help with some video, and they would just come out and be with me in the water and help me with all those new things that are going to be happening, which are standing up differently and all of those things, which are just going to take a bit of time to get my head around. But also, if it was something if there was a possibility for me to work up to being good enough to compete, then they want to be there to help me as a para surfer. Whether I'm good enough is a whole nother story, but that's what this journey's all about, isn't it? Is, can I make it? Can I surf on this board? Can I surf on my other boards? I've got a longboard. I got a 610 that might be a bit easier to ride than this 6.6. I got a 6.0 high performance twin made by Spider, all Spider boards, and a 5.8, I think it is. Also, that is my favorite little quad board. Just so cool, man. I love that board. It's so fast, and it was the first board I've ever done like a front side air on, and then I did a backside air down Polzeth one time, and I was just frothing. Anyway, yeah, that's too small for me to try and ride at the moment. I'm just not. I just don't think I'll be fast enough. But it's not. No, it's just not yet. So I was super excited to talk to Jack and kind of. That kind of gives me hope, it gives me focus, it gives me direction, and my work with Andrew is really cool because that gives me direction as well, and a focus and a reason to make sure I get out of bed and make sure I continue to work on myself. And when you're working on yourself physically, it has an effect on your mental game as well. There's a reason it's hard, that I've got a reason to push myself. And I'm not a kind of a guy that I don't love running. I think that kind of cardio thing is it's not necessarily for me, but it's super important. But I do it when you're surfing, obviously, because you're doing that paddling out, which requires that burst of energy, and then you're sitting around, and then you've got another burst of energy paddling for a wave, and then you're standing up and surfing, and then you're paddling back out again, then you stop, and so you're kind of doing this kind of interval training, I guess it would be called. But to replicate that is not cool. I don't really love it. So he's got me on the elliptical trainer. You get your feet in the things and the handles, and you're just kind of doing this cross trainer thing, and it's 45 minutes, and it's kind of boring, and around about half an hour it gets really hard. I think getting up to the halfway mark, the 22-minute mark, you're kind of like, right, I've made it halfway, and now I need to push through and do the same amount of time again, and you get to half an hour and you've got 15 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, come on, let's go, let's just get it through it. But when you've done it, it's kind of cool. It's absolutely cool. You kind of think, oh, I hated every minute of that, and I've made it and I've done it, and you kind of tick that box and go, okay, that's cool. But it's those moments, it's those times that that you're working towards this thing, but you need the thing, I think, to aim for. Certainly for me, I really need something to aim for. I think I'd be kind of a lost soul if I didn't have something to aim for, and I feel real blessed that I've had all these things in my life to do, surfing and skating and mountain biking and climbing and hiking and camping and so those physical activities, I'm really blessed to have had all those, and then for some of them I can still aim for, or hopefully all of them I can aim for as an amputee, not to compete necessarily, but certainly to keep doing. I don't want to lose the climbing, I don't want to lose the mountain biking. I don't even know if I could jump my bike again. I've got no idea. Or can I hit a downhill run? I don't know. It would be cool to think so, for sure. And people have gone before me, so that would be cool to hear from those dudes, or maybe I need to seek them out, certainly. But, there's things in place. And for me and for my family, it's it's almost a necessity to have those things in place, because I've got something to aim for. I'm not moping around just being miserable. I'm not going to sit around and get down about the things of the day, because there's a goal. And if I give up for 1 week, then you set yourself back. So it's all about just keeping driving forward and staying motivated and staying in that moment. There's hard times though, far out. There's tough times. It isn't pleasant having this condition that I've got, this where the cartilage is gone, and it's literally bone grinding on bone down there in my foot, and that is painful. It's really painful. So, and it's not only just painful, but it affects the rest of my body. So walking up a incline, I can't walk up that in the same way as my right leg. My right leg kind of adapts to the incline and my foot positions itself nicely. My left foot can't adapt to the incline, so I have to walk on my toes. And that's really difficult, because it kind of has a massive effect on your calf muscle. It has effect on all the other muscles, and it works all the way up to your neck and your shoulders, and you're kind of carrying yourself different because you're having to walk different. And then that makes you achy and painful in other places. And not only are you painful and achy in your ankle, you're just carrying it everywhere. And it just is tiring. It's so tiring. And I'm not a person to sit on my backside for any amount of time. I hate sitting down. I find myself walking around inside my own cottage, inside the space that you see here. I'd probably rather walk around than sit down, but it's tiring. And you get to your point of the day where you need to sit down and you've had some dinner and you just need to relax and switch off. And that's kind of when the pain comes, like another surge of pain. That's when your body's relaxing, so your body's no longer carrying all that pain and tension. But that's when just the OG pain is there and kicks in, and oh man, it can just catch me out. Sometimes I get pulses of energy, of pain, that just kind of kick in and just almost make me kind of scream out loud at times. But to get to that point, it's got to be pretty bad. Nobody would know. People look at me and go, "What's wrong with you, mate? Like, why would you want to go and have that done?" Because I carry it. I don't wear it around on my sleeves. And I think the most I've ever talked about this, what I'm going through, is on episode 1 and this episode, because there's people that I've known for many years that have got not a clue what's going on, and they saw episode 1 and they're like, "Holy, we didn't know." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just not that guy." So it's quite interesting that I'm doing this because I don't really yap about it too much, but it's quite cathartic to talk about it. I think I said in episode 1, it feels like a diary. If nobody's watching it, then it's for me, to talk out. It's like talking therapy. I'm talking to a camera, and actually it's quite therapeutic to talk out loud and to say the things out loud, and then you get time to reflect, and it's really cool. Reflection's just amazing. So on reflection, the date moving is not really a bad thing. I'm okay with it now, and I just see, I pick all the positives out of it. The extra time to prepare my family, the extra time to prepare my body physically, knock-on effect mentally, and the extra time to reach out to other people that are in this same situation, or at least have experienced this situation. We've got a guy called Peg down in Perranporth. he's been below knee amputee for most of his life, I think, and he's a GB world champion. He's a adaptive surf world champion. He's on the GB team currently. So it'd be so cool to connect with him and find out, you know, is my leg likely to fall off? What kind of leg do you use? Like, how do you adapt? Like, he's gonna be a gold mine of information. So I'm really super excited to have a bit more time to connect with him before the day. Also, there's Zoe, and she's world champion and GB team as well, and she has a really cool blade, I think, type style thing for her surfing, and so it'd be really cool to talk to her or at least touch base with her and find out how she got to that point with the blade and why that's better than a foot and all of those things. So it's pretty cool, actually. A bit extra time's not the end of the world, eh? So I'm pretty amped about it. I'm pretty stoked to kind of just continue, you know, and it gives me a few more episodes before the day. So we'll just keep journeying and see how we end up. But eventually we'll get to the point where they're gonna, you know, chop her off, and then we'll see where it goes. Hey. So thanks, people, for tuning into the second episode of The Amped Surfer. Can't wait to hear from you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where we're going next. I've got no clue right now. The information I got was yesterday. So let's just see where we end up and see who I can get in contact with and where that leads me and how that changes my views and outlook. And let's just stay amped for each other, eh? So see you next time. Sweet as.